I have a data point right here, but you won't see it, but I promise you it's here. That if you take all the elections since 1948 and you plot the midterms against the generals, there's no correlation. So it's not predictive. That doesn't mean it's not suggestive, but it's not necessarily predictive. Yes, indeed, I would say, and I'll come back and talk a bit about Trump, where he stands in a historical sense in terms of averages. By the way, I love averages. That might have been the most important human invention ever. It orients us. It gives us a reference point. But I think, obviously suburbia is a problem. I think the midterms showed that. That's the kink in his armor that makes it difficult, the math more difficult. Obviously, he won by a razor-thin margin in a few states. And I think that's a glimmer of hope for Democrats on the one hand, and storm clouds on the horizon. I don't know how many, but there's storm clouds on the horizon for the Republicans. But just stepping back a bit, we handicap elections. I handicap elections all the world for private sector clients. We have this massive database. Once again, I'm the data dude. And what do we know? Like, what are some things we know? Well, we know that incumbents have a threefold advantage over non-incumbents. Incumbency, I wouldn't say necessarily is king or queen, but incumbency is super important. The other thing is, independent of that, the most important predictor of electoral outcomes are approval ratings, right? And when you combine approval ratings with incumbency, it's an interesting mix. So what do we know? If Trump is like the average, and we can debate that, whether he's above the average, below the average, or not, what we do know, sitting president between 38 and 40 points has better than a 50-50 chance of winning the election. He's at 42, 43. You take the Gallup. I think the Gallup's a little bit of an outlier at 38. But he's still in the range where he has a significant non-zero chance of winning. He has a good chance, not necessarily an absolute chance. And so we can't discount them. Indeed, obviously the midterms creates a degree of delusion. As I was saying that apples are apples and bananas are bananas, and midterms aren't necessarily predictive of elections. They might be suggestive. But if he were just an average performer, he's in a pretty good place, if not dominant place, going into 2020. The question is, should we discount him a bit? And I think probably that could be a dynamic of this debate here, this discussion here. Is he an average performer, below average performer? There's a lot of arguments for and against, probably more against than for, but I'll leave it at that.